Jose from Wiffinity. We are going to start really simple today. Could you briefly introduce yourself to the crowd and to people that is going to look at you in the video afterwards? I'm sorry, but you have to step back.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Rodriguez. I'm Venezuelan born, and I've been living in Spain for the past 10 years. I have a degree in engineering, and it's been now 3 years full-time. I've been an entrepreneur. I've failed several times. I actually launched several other companies through my life, but while you consider to be full-time entrepreneur, only for the past 3, or not yet 3. And today I consider myself an innovator, an engineer still, and a full-time person that is looking to change and have an impact in the world. I love working with great teams, and I love technology itself, just as a means to solve problems.
That is great. Could you tell us, thinking about the past experiences you had, something that actually impact you somehow?
All right. As an engineer, electronic engineer working in telecom, my experience goes from telecom manufacturing to telecom industry. And back in 2011, I was invited to be a member of the organization team of TEDx Cibeles. I don't know if you heard of TEDx Cibeles here in Madrid. I was one of the founding groups or founding members of TEDx Cibeles back in 2011. And where you're an engineer working in telecom and you've been always in engineering, your world is very square. So you always think that 2 + 2 = 4, and emotions are not part of that world. It turns out that I was completely wrong. And I started discovering people and different experiences from TED Talks itself, and from the people started meeting in these networking activities, that the world goes way beyond engineering. Engineering is just thinking outside the box. And basically, from that point on, my life started to change. I started studying design thinking. I started going into emotional intelligence workshops, which has nothing to do with engineering. And today I consider myself part psychology, part engineer at the same time. I believe if you don't balance that, your emotional part of your brain, you're pretty screwed.
That's a curious combination of skills, I guess. So in a nutshell, you might say that being part of that event changed somehow the way you think about the world, the way you act and react, and you actually kind of pivot after that.
Completely. My life before that was I want to be an engineer, I want to be project manager, project director of an area, and keep climbing up in that corporate world. After that, like from that point on, I started changing until the point that I don't longer care about corporates. They are very important to our economy, but at the end, I believe the true self of work and change relies in the people that actually want to make it. And now I just want to mix myself with those people and be all around change.
That's great. And I don't know how many of you actually double check on the profile of this guy, but I'm going to start back in 2004, just for you to have an idea of how much this guy have done and how much you have ahead yourself, ahead your professional career, ahead your entrepreneurial journey. So back in 2004, you started in Huawei, a telecom company. Could you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Well, right out of the university, I had a friend who was working already in Huawei. I don't know if you all know Huawei. It's a Chinese telecom company. It's known for their mobile phones, but they do way more than that. And back in Venezuela, I started working with them as a project engineer. I was just lowest level in the company. Right out of the university, I thought I knew a lot coming out of a great university. And it turns out that when you go out into the professional world, you know nothing.
Yeah, that's that's probably the experience of most people that get out of the university, and they say, well, I've been here kind of learning stuff that I cannot use somehow. So well, that I guess it was so much more difficult to work for a company that is Chinese owned with their own way of thinking and doing. And could you tell us, like, I don't know, what was the most challenging part of that job?
Well, the cultural differences. That was my first experience working in a multicultural environment, and the first time that I worked with Chinese people. Many people might criticize Chinese culture from the working point of view because it's tough. It's not easy, especially when we are used to different values. It's not illogical itself, it's just different. And the main takeout of that is every work is different, and the way you position yourself in your work environment can change from the way you look at it. It turns out that working with Chinese, many people would reject the way they work because we were in Venezuela, so they had to follow the Venezuelan culture, and that's the wrong way, I believe. And if you understand, if you empathize on how do they think and what do they look for in employees and look for their objectives, that you can find out their code of speaking. And it turns out that they're very interesting, they are easy to predict, and in the work environment kind of way, not personally. And it helped me grow a lot, like open my mind to different perspective, and my basic takeaway from Huawei is never criticize based on culture, and on the contrary, learn it and take the most out of it, because it will work. You will always learn something to bring into your own culture.
Oh, that's good. And after Huawei, you went to Axpe and Rico. Could you tell us, briefly?
Well, at a certain point, I got tired of working with Chinese stuff. It was not bad. It was sort of, I was tired of the same activity I was performing for the past year and a half. I knew I liked change. Now I know how to manage it. Back then I didn't know that much. So I used 2 consulting companies to jump from one job to the next in less than a year period, as a trampoline to jump to my next position at Telefonica this case.
Well, and in that case, Telefonica, could you tell us where you start? What was the starting point of that journey in Telefonica? Did you start an engineer or something, or?
Well, by then I was project manager for Huawei, and I jumped into these consulting companies. I was managing accounts and managing large projects, so I had the opportunity to land in a company within the group called Telefonica International that manages all the international telecommunications for the Telefonica group. And what I did there was this company was evolving from wholesale services to multinational services, and I had the chance to lead all the strategical projects of the company, to land customer requirements into the operations of the company when there were no standard processes for them. It was fun, it was tough, and I was solo at the beginning, and I had the chance to build a team that grew up to 60 people.
Not quite bad for like 5, maybe 6 years of work?
4.5 years took me that.
And I guess you get these skills because you are going to realize that time management on the life of also is something key. And I guess you get this from the project manager kind of mindset somehow. So to manage your time quite wisely.
Well, it's funny because you say time management. Time management is one of the main areas in project management. And I've been a project manager for many years, and I even took a certification on project management for that. And but I believe project management, it's all about loving what you do, and time management is having the passion to actually get home at 10 p.m. and still do something that is not just watching TV or going out for beers with friends. Sometimes my beers with friends also are customer discovery activities or idea discovery sessions. And sometimes I get, like, my friends get annoyed because I stop working, and it's like a way of thinking. So
I know the feeling. How about Wiffinity? What was your
involved.
your involvement with Wiffinity? That was the word.
Well, it's part of my summary in LinkedIn that I was a member of Wiffinity. I wasn't actually a member per se. Back in 2011, when I started with the TEDx events, the Telefonica Group launched an innovation initiative. Instead of building an innovation team within the Telefonica Group, they called for innovative minds within the company. So employees could allocate up to 20% of our times to do innovation projects. One of those projects was helping the Wiffinity team to create a brand called Innovation Days. And it's a brand that went through about a year and a half, sort of a startup grind meetup organized by Wiffinity for their startups and their community to keep on building traction. And I was the first one to create that brand and launch it. It was a fun experience, but I was not part of Wiffinity. Don't get me wrong. I was just a person from the Telefonica Group innovation team that, thanks to the opportunity in Wiffinity, I had the chance to launch that project.
That's awesome. And moving like far ahead in the entrepreneurial part of your career, tell us about Joya Games.
All right. So 2014, late 2013, a new initiative within the Telefonica Group comes out, which is called Open Future. I'm sure all of you have heard of it. And I was in the telecom industry. I already wanted to leave the telecom industry per se, or the day-to-day activities of delivering DSL services to DHL or Nokia Siemens, or phones to SATA stores in Russia. That was sort of my job, or my customers. And I wanted to do more, like be a full-time innovation person. So I asked the company, can I change my role to Open Future? And they say, sure, why not? 6 months after, nothing had happened. Got frustrated. The company, within the company, Telefonica was restructuring itself. I was about to lose my team and everything I've worked for in the last 4.5 years. And I'm sure I would have gained some other things, but at that point I decided, well, this is no longer for me. If Telefonica is not giving me the chance to go and do some cool stuff and something that I'm really passionate about, and at the same time they're sort of punishing me on the other side, it's like the right moment just to step out. And it turns out that at that exact moment, Telefonica had an open regulatory thing of employment in which voluntarily you could step out of the company and get compensated by it for people that had more than 4 years in the company. So I joined that group. I got fired officially out of the company, and I started Joya. And Joya was an opportunity to do cool stuff, and that is one of my things when I was growing up was video games and games in general. We all played games, and raise hands who had played video games while growing up. Okay, so we are all, or board games in general. So through the program on Telefonica as an innovation member, I had the opportunity to do not a master degree itself, but professional studies in game theory in the Pennsylvania University. And I started getting in love of applying game theory into businesses. So I quit Telefonica and I launched an initiative called Joya Games. The objective was to make fun work environments by bringing game theory for non-digital environments. Sounds kind of weird because who has heard of gamification here?
Come on.
Okay, we all sort of know that points and medals and things like that. It's way more than that, not just points, medals, and leaderboards. And we applied that psychology, of that game theory psychology into restaurants and hair salons in order to create more engagement and in order to help them grow as companies. At the end, it was identifying a problem and finding a solution, thinking outside the box. It was great. Don't get me wrong. Like I did 4 or 5 projects in total. All were very successful. The thing is, if you go to a typical Spanish restaurant and then tell them we're gonna change the way you work by making your work fun and your customer having fun at your place, they think you have smoked something weird. Yeah. So out of every 100 people that I approached, only 1 got me. This is my first lessons as an entrepreneur. Timing, bringing an idea to the market, it's crucial. If you are way too early, because you're a visionary and you think this is going to be the way, it's not going to work because people are not going to take it in. If you're too late, you got too much competition. My case, I was way too early. And sadly, the company did not go as expected, and I started looking for other opportunities, let's call it that way.
Which I guess is the go-to Paraíso, right?
Well, Go to Paraíso, it's another thing in my LinkedIn. It's a very long project. I've been working on for the past 6-7 years, but it's a family project. I come from a big family. I got 4 brothers, and my family has worked in tourism most of their life. My dad has experience in managing 5-star hotels. My mom knows about advertisement and marketing. One of my brothers is a chef. Another brother that I have is an architect in sustainable architecture. Another brother is a finance guru. And myself, I say I know entrepreneurship. So if you combine all that, we come up with Go to Paraíso, which is a hotel experience. It's a co-living and co-working experience in paradise. It's sort of bringing Google Campus to Costa Rica, and it's free, it's sponsored. And,
Come on, really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
So
It's still existing?
it still exists. It's been going now for the project has been ongoing for 4 or 5 years. We've done some things. The problem is that we have not formally dedicated ourselves full time to that. Lesson learned: if you want to do something, focus on that. So far, the project is ongoing and off-going every year, and right now we're not launching any program these days. Hopefully, by the end of the year, we'll get the funding necessary, the sponsorship, to bring a group of about 50 people for a month to live and work in paradise.
You will take people from all over the world, or just from
applications and
come on, guys, who doesn't want to work at the beach, relax?
Yeah, basically it's lodging and food included, and internet. All are password protected, and you can get connected while you are in range for free. And no need to copy-paste passwords, no need to ask for password or give Facebook logins or anything away. So it's a community of people sharing Wi-Fi credentials, and we've been growing from about 600 Wi-Fi hotspots that we had summer last year to we're close to 500,500.
That's a big number.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Yeah, over half a million.
Over half a million. That's a lot. And I was thinking guys, you can actually download the app right now and open your Wi-Fi. I've used the app before, and it's incredible.
Well, Campus is part of the community.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. But you can, afterwards, we are going to have a Q&A session. But you can download the app and you can use it, and it's incredible. Wherever you go, there's hundreds of thousands of hotspots in the world. You are going to have free Wi-Fi. Why not? You're not going to pay anything. This is true.
And I got free advertisement.
Kind of. Just download the app and actually do it. It's really cool. I use it. I'm talking from the user experience point of view. I don't do these kind of things quite often. So where did you start at Wiffinity? You weren't founded the company, but you joined afterwards or something like that? Could you tell us a little bit about it?
When realizing that Joya was not a company that would sustain itself, because in terms of timing I was way too early, I started talking to my mentors back in 2015, and one of them, Alberto Embunan, one of the companies actually was here, Mobile Dreams, introduced me to the team that had the idea of Wiffinity. Wiffinity was born as a platform to connect and improve the experience of the guests of the Horeca industry. Basically, every time you walk into a restaurant, a cafeteria, or a hotel, you would love to have the best experience possible. And we were searching for a tool to improve that experience, and we found out that Wi-Fi was so spread out and common out there that we could use that tool to link the technology part that we all carry in our pockets, our mobile phones, with the content and the experiences that these venues wanted to provide their guests. And that was how we started. And it was good. It was an idea brought by Sidney Levy, one of the co-founders of the company. And I cannot say the idea was Jose's, or the company was founded in late 2013 or mid 2013, and I actually joined the company by mid 2015 and mid 2014, sorry. And as you can see, there was a whole year gap there. There was a year of brainstorming, team building, and created the first MVP. And I literally joined when Wiffinity had about 14 users and 5 Wi-Fi hotspots.
Awesome.
So the Wiffinity that it was back then is nothing to do what Wiffinity is today.
Well, I guess that's part of the deal. And when you joined the company, what was the next challenge you have in front of you as a team? Or I don't know if you joined as a leader, as the CEO of the company already, or could you tell us?
Yep, indeed. The company was basically 2 persons. It was Sidney Levy, who was masters in marketing, digital marketing, and he knew all about bringing a product to the market, but he knew nothing about the technology itself. And Josu Garcia de Albizu, if I don't say his full last name, he will kill me on the video. And he was a technical developer. So he came from Telefonica R&D, developing mobile projects. So he was the logical CTO for the company. But they liked someone that would carry out the voice, that would go out and sell the company, from investors to customers, and at the same time have both the technical expertise to understand the business and the business skills to help the company grow. And thankfully, I was introduced to the team, and they asked me to join as their leader. And it was something that you have to earn. That's something that is, even if it's appointed that you are CEO by title the moment I sign up with the company, it took me several months to finally gain their trust. We were negotiating for over 6 months my joining into the company. And by that time, we all trusted each other. We were very good friends, and too many beers in the middle. But yeah, that's part of it.
And by then, you already had the full team, or just building the team afterwards?
The core team was there. And if you ever heard of a company, a startup with one single member, that's not a startup, that's a dream. And teams are everything in a startup. And a team can be as little as 2. You should not have much expectations with a full company of 2. And right now we are 9. We're full-time. We're 9 persons full-time, and that's the most critical part of a startup. Hiring good people when you have no money, and you need to choose way carefully the quality of the person that is joining, not only for their technical skills, marketing skills, or sales skills, but also for the culture. If they believe in what you believe in, if they're willing to sacrifice what you will sacrifice as an entrepreneur. And it took us months to build what we have today, or years.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. I mean, it's part of the deal. There's a saying in the entrepreneurial world. It's like hire slow and fire fast. So you have to take these decisions really seriously and really carefully. So it'll take the time that it'll take. This is the way it is. So on the other side, not just we have talked about the team, we have talked about the beginning of your involvement with Wiffinity, but how about the market? Was the market ready yet? You told before about the right timing for the idea. It was too early. It was way too far on the time frame. Could you tell us a bit about the market?
Well, at Wiffinity, at that point, Wi-Fi that started in the early 2000s, it's well known these days. With the mobile explosion from 2007 and the iPhones, we all had Wi-Fi devices. So it was easy at that part. A bit scary because maybe we were too late, but you would see many startups popping up with social Wi-Fi platforms. You would see crowdsourcing and crowdfunding and as trends in the market. And you would see that community as a business or part of the business was something that it didn't, like people did not talk before, but from 2012, 2013, everyone was talking about building community. We still do. And so we believe that it was the right time. At the moment when you start your company, you have no idea if the market is right, is in the right time or not. Today, 2 full years working in the company, I can say that maybe we're in the verge of being too late. Why? Because there are many other companies that are working on the same business model, not in Spain locally, but we got competition in the US, also in Europe, in Sweden, in Brazil, and in Asia, and much bigger companies than we are, and better funded. And also, Wi-Fi connectivity as an issue every day is less of a pain or less of a problem. We expect in Europe by next year to have free roaming. This is with a big asterisk at the end through the whole Europe. And right now, people don't worry that much about getting connectivity. The thing is, how much data do you need? Which we believe still a big market for it. Right now, there are about 400 million Wi-Fi hotspots in Europe, and it's going to grow to about 1.3 billion by 2020. So we keep on growing. So there is still a market for it, and it just should be the right idea, the right business model.
Okay. And just to stick with the idea of growing the user base, you're still investing in growing that user base, the hotspots you are signing in every day.
Completely, that's part of the whole model. It's a community.
Okay.
So that's Wiffinity states for it. It's a Wi-Fi community. So it's all about our users and the users helping us grow that community. We've been growing double digits for the last 9 months, which is like jumping from 1 to 10. Might seem very little, but then multiply by 10 every week, add a 10% to that every week for the next 9 months. It turns out that it's a lot of users.
It's a lot of
and it's tough, and it's not about money, it's about doing it the right way. Don't get me wrong. Mobile, don't get into it.
No, come on. I mean, every single thing is going into mobile. You have to deal with the problems of mobility anyways. And who's paying for this? Who is your customer?
Well, that's something that took us a while. It took us a while, and thanks to an acceleration program last year, we were members of Startup Bootcamp. Have you ever heard of Startup Bootcamp? There is one in Barcelona here, and we had the opportunity to be an alumni in Startup Bootcamp Amsterdam. So we were last year in Startup Bootcamp Amsterdam, and thanks to them, we pivoted on our model. We were initially focusing on the venues as our paying customers to create this communication channel. Then we built the whole platform, and it was very nice, neat, worked out perfectly, and no validations in the middle. That was another mistake, and do learn from that. So by the time we wanted to start commercializing the platform, no one was buying it. So we had to do lots of customer discovery sessions. We were out and we had about 1,000 meetings in 3 months between all team members. We were splitting our time. I was having 20-minute meetings in a row for 10 hours a day. And Startup Bootcamp organized the agenda for us. That was good. And so we were way over schedule, overbooked. But it turns out that today our customers are other mobile applications. In the mobile app world, one of the biggest problems that every mobile app has is retention. Getting someone to download and install our app is relatively easy, but for someone to keep that app for 30 days is very difficult. To even use it, it's another problem. And we saw that in the travel and tourist industry, the industry that we're focusing on for our users, there was a lot of applications that were out in the market and they were not having enough retention for them to have a business model. And it takes out that by having Wiffinity as part of their applications, as a white label solution, retention is way better. So we did an experiment, the first customer that we experiment with, and basically installed our map into their phones, and they had a 0.5 retention at 30 days, and they brought it to 4%. 4% still sounded like a very little number, but that's 8 times what they had, and it's just adding a functionality into their app that took them less than a day to install. So it turns out that our customers discovered the business model for ourselves, and right now we're selling Wi-Fi as a service platform, so everyone could download our technology and include them into their applications with their own look and feel. That way they could offer, as part of their value proposition, free Wi-Fi. So that way companies like Iberia, locally by the end of this year, Schiphol Airport, the airport of Amsterdam, we're looking for a booking. That's another story. And but companies like airlines, airports, train companies, car rental companies, for all of them we make sense because we help them improve their engagement the more times they open the app and the retention. And it turns out that we solve a very big problem without actually thinking it at the beginning.
That's kind of an example of parallel thinking somehow. It's like they are using something that it was completely unintended to actually gain a lot of retention that they were not getting with the traditional tools, I guess. So this is really cool stuff. And how that model works from the unit economics, not the unit economics, but do you charge the same amount to every single customer? Do you have like different type of customers? If you can disclose any of that.
Yeah, well, right now we don't have a closed price model at this point. The only thing that it's certain is that it's free for startups. So every startup could use our technology for free, up to 1,000 users a month, active users a month. So if you're a startup and you're just launching, you don't have 1,000 users a month. And so it's free. It's a free entry. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, just take it out of your app. And from that point on, from 1,000 active users a month and up, we have 3 different steps in which we're charging our customers up to 2 full-time employees. That's about 8,000 euros a month for over 500,000 of active users a month. That's a company like Iberia has that level, or Europcar has that level of engagement with users. So it's very cheap for a company like Iberia paying 8,000 euros a month. That's not even the toilet paper that they still use on their airplanes. And at the same time, it's so cheap that there is no point for them to compete against us for a feature in their applications. And we help them solve that problem. The good thing is that these are recurring incomes, so it's very expensive to get one of these customers. B2B we thought that we would sell this in a week.
I think that's another lesson you can add on that.
That's lots of BS when we start a company. We say, well, we're going to sell to companies. These I can sell in a week. Now, it takes 6 months to a year to close a large customer, but the good thing is that they will pay 2 to 5 years. And so the cost of acquisition is somewhere between 5 to 10,000 euros, depending on where we're looking at it, and the size of that company. And lifetime values is around 100,000 euros,
Okay,
which we haven't proved yet.
that's quite large. As a hypothesis, it seems like promising, I guess. So let's try to build the big picture of the business model. How about the competitors you have right now in the landscape you're operating?
Well, in the world of crowdsourcing Wi-Fi credentials, there are many players out there. In iOS, in Apple, there are not that many because you cannot do the same things in Apple that you can do in Android. And so by every competitor that we have in Apple, we might have 50 in Android. So the download rate, you can see, actually we're more popular in iOS than in Android because unit economics. We cannot invest that much. And the good thing is that we are alone in the Spanish-speaking countries, so that makes us a competitive advantage. And also, our business model is not being replicated yet by any of the other companies. So right now we are aggressively launching a commercial campaign for the rest of this year. We're actually starting now. And by the rest of the year, we're just going to focus on sales. Hopefully, we'll raise some money in order to accomplish all our goals.
Awesome. And let's stick to that part, the financing part. I know you've been through a financing round recently. Could you give us like the general takeaways of that financing round?
Okay, it's tough. And if your startup depends on money, you better have the numbers, you better have the contacts, and you will work a lot, and you will get frustrated through the way. We've been looking for funds for 9 months now. We haven't yet got private investment. Luckily, we just got public investment, and so we will survive. And sadly, right now, most of you are seeing that we have a particular political situation in Spain, and everyone talks about investment and how was investment last year. That in 2015, private investment invested twice as much as in 2014. So that's great news for all of us. 2016, we are not reaching yet 10% of 2015. You say, well, basically, no one wants to invest until we know what's going to happen. And it's logical, it's normal, it's macroeconomics. No one should yet. September to December will be a fun time because they all have to invest a certain amount of money, especially VC funds. They have an agenda and a volume that they need to invest. So they will go crazy on who to invest in the last quarter of the year. The thing is, you need to survive until that point. And you need to have the relationship and the credentials and the traction to compete with all the other startups. Sadly, Wiffinity per se might never be a billion-euro company because we are a feature or we solve a small problem. We are in a different segment of types of investment. Yeah. The large VCs are always looking for these potential unicorns, and we might never be that. Doesn't mean that we cannot pivot and evolve the company.
But it doesn't mean either that it's not a good business.
No, it's a great business. It's a great business. Unique Economics support us, Traction support us, the team Experience support us. It's just keep on fighting and be very stubborn when following your investors. And there are lots of ways to get that. But the only way to learn it is to actually do it. So get out there and do it.
That's a really good advice. When we ask other speakers about their financing rounds, they tend to, you have to do this and this and that, and they buy book.
Oh, there's no book for it.
The truth is that there is no book for this. You have to go out and actually figure out by yourself the best way for your company. And you have to figure out what kind of investors are the best for your company also, which is not so simple. And, I guess that's fair enough. And let's do a little bit of foresight or strategy, I would say. How do you see the whole market in the next maybe 3 to 5 years? Do you think it's going to somehow expand? Is going to consolidate some?
Well, the market, every market is growing. Locally, it's the best time in the world in human history to be an entrepreneur. So we all need to keep on working. It's real that 9 out of each 10 will fail. And don't get me wrong, it's part of being a successful entrepreneur. So I had the opportunity to go to the US looking for funding in this financing round. And one of the investors that I met there asked me, how many times have you failed before? And I said, like, full-time working for a company, none. I've never failed in a company like Wiffinity before. That has hundreds of thousands of users, hundreds of thousands of Wi-Fi hotspots, a company that won awards and raised money, and so on. So I've never failed before. I failed in small personal projects. I had a hot dog stand in Venezuela. That doesn't count as a startup. That's just a business. And I said, no, at no point. And he said, well, I'm not investing in you. So it's like, well, how come? If I haven't failed, that doesn't mean I'm not good. It's like, no, but you will fail. It's statistics, so you will fail. So I'd rather you fail first, and then when you have failed 2 or 3 times, come and talk to me, because I'm sure that fourth you might have something. So don't be afraid. Get out there, fail, and it's about failing. Fail fast, fail cheap. We all heard that of Eric Ries, but there's no way of doing that if you don't start.
Yeah.
So market is going to grow. Opportunities are going to be more and more. The work environment is going to be tough for those people that just want a 9 to 5 job, because machines we are going to automate their jobs. And but for us, there will always be opportunities. There will be opportunities in design and jobs descriptions that will happen in 5 years from now don't exist today. So don't worry about it. Just be out there.
You know, there's a couple stories. Just yesterday or a couple days ago, I met a guy that had created in the last maybe 20 or 25 years over 50 different companies, 50, and he had closed, sadly, over 30. And he was actually in an event here at campus that I cannot tell the name, but because I don't remember the name. But anyways, they were explaining this, and then this guy was telling all people, you have to embrace failure. I mean, it's not like you have to fail per se, and you are going to shoot for failing, but you have to do it fast. Somehow it's kind of counterintuitive, but you have to do it. Otherwise, you don't have that track record. You have to have that. If not, nobody's going to actually take you seriously. Of course, it can happen once in a while, and that is why they call it unicorns, because they happen just very few times, if not any. So go out there and fail, I guess. So this has been an incredible journey, professionally and I guess personally. And what is ahead of you? What do you have in front of you, or in front of Wiffinity? What are the next steps for the company?
Well, as any startup, first thing is reach break even. That will be the first step of any company. And the company is to expand right now. Right now we have found a product to market fit. We're very happy with it. We are signing customers very fast. We're not invoicing that much yet, but we're signing a lot of customers. And it turns out that the biggest market that is reaching out is in Latin America. So there is a potential for us to have a team based in Latin America. And because companies and our users, about 80% of our user base comes from there. Okay. And companies are looking forward to it. It's very uncertain. Many people in the startup world, many startups are doing 2, 3, 5 year plans, financial plans, and they have like this very long-term plan. There's never a plan that works, and it's just have a great vision. Everything that you do be aligned with your vision, and plan for the next week and for the next couple of months, because in the 2 months you don't know what can change in your company, because we change very, very fast. The team might change, the financials might change. You might get €1 million investment, or you might die because you did not find that investment. So don't worry about having a 3-year plan. Right now, our purpose right now is to have as many Wi-Fi users in the world, as many people using Wiffinity technology, and keep on growing and keep on learning on the market, because I know Wiffinity will not be Wiffinity in 3 years from now. We will have to evolve to whatever the market asks us to do.
Awesome. We are kind of about to close the interview, and I want to go back to that personal journey. And is a part of the companies you are involved with, the company you are right now leading, Wiffinity, and other stuff you're doing professionally, is there any other thing that passionates you?
Oh yes, kite surfing.
Okay.
That's my passion, and I'll hope we were living somewhere else rather than Madrid. I love Madrid, don't get me wrong, but if Madrid had a beach, it would be the nicest city in the world. Someone said that, some author said that, and
can we build that?
No, not big enough to kite surf. But
you have Pantano.
Oh yeah, but still 100 kilometers away, and restrictions for kite surfing is every day are more and more.
There's
strict.
probably an entrepreneur thinking about how to solve that issue.
Oh yeah, if I'll be one of his co-founders if you find it.
You see that? Did you still have I don't know? You still find time to get aboard and get out and do some kite surf?
Sadly, no. This is something when I got to start a bootcamp, there was a big phrase on a wall that said, or that still says, "A running horse can drink." And at the beginning, I did not get it. I started my program of startup bootcamp. I was working 14 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. And on the 4th week, I got sick, basically, and my diagnosis was you're working too much. And I went kite surfing in the Netherlands, and I got cured. Well. So, lesson learned is always take some time in your day-to-day weeks or in your week-to-week basis for personal matters. And they're important, and they keep you sane. So, today, sadly, I don't find that much time for kite surfing because at least I need to drive 300 kilometers to Valencia or go 100 kilometers to a Pantano and have luck if I have wind at that day, but I should do that more. That's sort of my goal for the next year.
Humanity is going to Mars. Why not to build a beach in Madrid? Come on, that's not a big deal. Do you have any personal goal or professional goal for this year you want to share with the startup?
Yeah, I would say start to say no more often. Sadly, I really like people. I really like to engage with people, and I really like. I'm mentoring at the Founders Institute. Been mentoring for this last program for the first time, and I was invited a couple of times to the Founders Institute. Great experiences, and almost all the startups came to me and asked me for additional sessions. I say yes to everyone, and right now I'm trying to fit them into my agenda, and I have a lot of work to do. So sadly, I cannot do that full time. And my goal for this year is, or the next period personally, is to have a bit more focus on what really matters. Also focus more on my family. My family sadly is living all across the world, and I don't see them that often, but I also don't speak with them that often. So more get closer to my family. That's very important because I'm driving me sort of insane at that point.
That's part of the deal, I guess. But yes, you have to take care of that. Well, this is the last part of the interview, and I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, like really quick questions. Do you have any tool you use every day you cannot live without? I was serious before. Please don't tell me email.
No, I won't say email. I would say my CRM. I use Pipedrive as a CRM. Since I'm in the business development area, I would add all my contacts, everyone I know, into my CRM would update on every relationship, call, email, or anything that I do. Some updates into that. I got Roger there that is leading. Like if you see my CRM for Roger, you got leading startup Grind. I met you at Area 31 in IE. You're Venezuelan. If you have a family, who's your contacts and how did I met you? What was our last conversation? So that's sort of something that I do every day. It's very important because when you meet someone and you ask them how their family are doing, or you ask them about the problem that they told you the last time, sort of you make an impression, and it's about caring. So if you're not doing it, take the time to be very meticulously about the relationships that you're building as entrepreneurs, because your project doesn't matter that much as the relationships that you're building, and without them, you're lost.
Do you have like a must-read or book or a paper or a blog or something?
A recent book that I've been recommending to everyone, and it's called The Mom Test. Have you ever read about that book? The Mom Test is a book for doing customer discovery for non-sales people. It's especially designed for engineers or people that are not selling, in order how to go out there and ask the right questions to get actionable data, or data you can take decisions upon. So it's a book which is 120, 150 pages long. You can read it on a weekend, and I would really recommend it. Every person that I've read it, thanks to my recommendation, have come back to me and say it was an amazing book. So if you have the time, do read it.
What's the name?
The Mom Test.
The Mom Test.
It's basically how to get data out of potential customer when everyone is lying to you, especially your mom.
Well, a couple more things. Do you have like a piece of advice for entrepreneurs that are going to look at you at the video, entrepreneurs in the audience?
When you're starting your company, basically focus on metrics. Metrics is God. So don't care that much about your business model, don't care about that much about your competition. It's all about what you are doing. Your metrics are not how much are you selling. Metrics can be how much people you're talking to, how much features you plan to build, how much A/B tests are you doing. Everything is a metric, and everything is proof that you are doing something on the right way. So base yourself your startup on a metric-based company, and you will succeed there. You will learn fast because you will know what are the things that work and doesn't work.
Yeah, that's good. Is there any way that startup Grind community can reach you, like over Twitter or something?
Well, I'm not much of a Twitter user, but everyone can add me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to get back to you, even if I don't have much time these days to meet. But I'll be happy to answer you over email, have a phone call, or if you got me on a not very focused day, I will say yes to a meeting.
Awesome. Awesome. So now we are taking questions, like just a few.
All right.
Any questions? Okay, let's start with that.
Sorry, first of all, thank you for coming. And I was quite impressed by your business model, and it was quite refreshing to see that you went beyond just showing us your app or something like that, which would be like the obvious business model. But then my question is more in the marketing thing, because you said that you grow 10% weekly.
Yep.
So you probably have also, you have found some effective way of growing. So could you elaborate a bit on that, and also what it is now and what it was at the beginning, because our startup or my startup is like very early stage.
Okay, in the mobile world, we had the company, well, the first release of the app came out in December 2014, or October, September, like the last quarter of 2014, I don't remember exactly, that was sort of the time I joined the company. And up to summer 2015, we had about 150 downloads. And that's nothing. And we did lots of experiments of giving out flyers, investing in Facebook, Google AdWords, you guess it. Like the traditionals that we all care about. It turns out that I went to a workshop for mobile marketing, and it was a company that's called 8 Fit for fitness, and the marketing, the CMO of that company was talking about the marketing of that company. And he came with an acronym that I never heard before. It's called ASO. And it sounds kind of dumb for a CEO of a mobile company not knowing what was that, but I was not that worried back then. It turns out that it's the key for every mobile app. ASO is basically App Store optimization, and it's the same as SEO, but for the mobile world. And it turns out that by digging a bit into it, 60% of the total apps in the world get downloaded because people search keywords on the App Store. Another 30 to 40%, or 30 to 35% it's people that recommend other apps. Project, you should download Wiffinity. That's the way Project will download Wiffinity. And the other 5% remaining, or up to 10%, is the rest of the marketing channels. And we were investing in that. And it turns out that you learn by mistake. We took a year. Right now, every time some mobile company comes to me and asks me, well, how do I market my company? ASO. Focus on ASO and do ASO for the first year. And until you have a product to market fit and you're growing steadily, don't do any other channel. We got 500 people or 600 people on Facebook as our community. It's kind of very, very low. And we got 25,000 people using our application every week. So that's unique users. So there's no comparison. So Facebook doesn't work for that. It's ASO for everything.
Okay, that's a good. Little question. It was interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Matthew.
So you talked before that like in 3 years this company is going to be totally different.
Yep.
And before you said that with the spread of unlimited data, that's kind of making, it's kind of making your business and your proposition kind of obsolete in a way. So like, what will be the next step? What are you thinking now?
Well, one of the reasons that roaming is playing against us in Europe, it's forcing or is moving us to go to South America as a first market.
That's going to happen eventually there as well.
Yeah, that's going to happen there eventually, but at the end, data will always be, because I come from the telecom industry, in the telecom industry we will suffer a phenomenon called the decoupling of the telecom industry. Decoupling is basically that investing in bandwidth will no longer be profitable for the telecom companies. So they will need to optimize their existing technology in order to optimize that bandwidth. Now, that's why we're seeing the boom of the CDN networks, content delivery networks. That's why Pied Piper in Silicon Valley, it's all about compression, and it's a trend. Why? Because the telecom companies are moving that. We look at our future at that point, mixing, working with telecom companies for offloading their mobile networks into fixed networks. That way they won't need to invest in increasing the bandwidth of their 4G to 5G next to keep on the 4G and upload it to Wi-Fi networks which are way cheaper. That's why we make sense not only for the tourist industry but for the video consumption companies.
Yeah.
How do you cope with people sharing Wi-Fi credentials that they shouldn't share? Like, if I'm at my workplace or something and it's a private network and I share it with Wiffinity, how do you cope with requests or deletion and stuff like that?
Well, in our platform, in our website, everyone can ask to delete one of the networks. Also, through the app, you can report networks that are in violation of certain privacy rules. According to the terms and conditions of the application that everyone should read, and I hope everyone reads. And
why are you laughing? Reading everything.
Conversion rates at reading is very, very, very tiny. And but our users are responsible for the ethical part of sharing. Right now, we only accept WPA and WPA2 password protected networks. Any company that considers themselves serious about data protection will not have one of those networks. And so in any large corporation, we won't have that problem. in small and medium corporations like our offices are shared, and you could go out to the door or almost like within the range of the Wi-Fi connected and try to hack us. Indeed, you could, if you know how to hack on phones, because we will never share the password with the user, and it's not available for computers today. So there are ways around it, but we target the 99% of the other audience that will not do that.
Okay, good. Another question.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you open new markets, new countries? What's your strategy to?
From the B2C proposal, which is the community, the whole world is open right now. The way what we do to improve a market itself is by optimizing on the App Store for that specific market. So we have specific translations and language management for South America, for every country in South America. We got it in Hindi, we have it in Chinese, we got it in Japanese. We don't have it in Russian yet. So Russian downloads are nothing compared to Indians, for example. And when we did the optimization for the Arab countries, it turns out that they're one of the greatest because none of our competitors does it in any Arab languages. So that's the way we do for the B2C platform because it's free. And we only focus on ASO as our main channel. For the commercial point of view, in the B2B world, you need staff. It's direct sales. We don't do marketing for a B2B strategy. We do direct sales. So it's about having contacts, opening, and it's a long-term and laborious activity.
And expensive, I guess.
It's several thousand euros for each customer.
I guess this is going to be the last question.
Right.
You're young boss. but if you could go back 5 to 10 years, what would you tell Jose not to do or to do? What would be the best a piece of advice?
What would be my piece of advice from me now to my Jose 10 years ago? Take more risk. And while in Telefonica, I was in a safe environment, and I had the typical education in which you should have good grades, go to university, and then work for a nice company, and then build your career in the company, and be loyal, and do whatever your boss says. And that's not real today. And it was not real 10 years ago. And I see many people that still believe in that. And I believe that they will realize sooner or later that they can do as much as they want if they dare to fail completely. I can be completely honest here. My bank account when I left Telefonica had many zeros. Right now, I'm struggling to pay my rent in August. Right now, I don't have the money to pay my rent in August. I don't care. I have all my money invested into Wiffinity. I got my team safe, so they are collecting the money, or the employees, not the other founders. They're as screw as I am. And but the thing is, I don't care, and because everyone loses their money sooner or later, and money comes and money goes. You can have a job today and lose it tomorrow, but 10 years from now. My only regret back then was not trying sooner, and I did not do it because I was afraid, and there's no point at that. And so if I would advise my Jose 10 years ago is quit now and jump into the entrepreneurial world, because I had less responsibilities back then, and by now I'm sure I would have failed several other times, and my company these days would be a success.
You'll be funded.
Be success. Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Jose, to come here.
Thank you very much.